Good evening and welcome back to the Poets Corner. I am your host, Micah Joel Toohey, and I am broadcasting from Western Illinois University, WIU, in Macomb, Illinois. If you would like to submit any poetry for us to read on the air, or if you have any questions or comments that you would like us to discuss at some point, you can email us at poetscornerjm@yahoo.com. That's poetscornerjm@yahoo.com. This evening, I'm blessed to be here with my friend Topher Tackman, who's helping me host and comment on the show today. And Topher, who is a poet that I like very much, is going to share a lot of his own work. And so, Topher, why don't you go ahead and start sharing with your first poem with us this evening?
Okay. Humpty Dumpty. Rockets ripped through our flesh, my men no longer whole, screaming, wailing, dying. Jimmy and Albert went home under a flag. "You should be immensely proud," I said. I sat on that wall and fell, wounded, heartbroken. All the president's women and all the president's men couldn't put me together again. I'm still here. They're still gone. I'm supposed to be stronger than this. But this demon has come clawing for me this night as I sleep. And I wonder, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Razor-sharp claws dig deep within my spine, drag me to the window, press my face to the glass, while his saliva, like battery acid, drips down my neck. And it burns, and it burns. It hisses against my skin. All I see is Albert and Jimmy and me, and I cannot save them in this scene. Isn't it destroying to end up this way?
I think for future reference, I'm going to tell the audience to get an aspirator before you start reading your poetry, Topher. I mean, it's not funny, but I mean, sometimes I hear your poetry and it's like, I don't know, whenever you have thunder that's really close, you know what thunder is, and you know what it's like to have thunder really close. But then it happens, and then you're like, whoa! And it just knocks you back, thunderstruck. I guess there's a reason why they've got the expression thunderstruck.
Yes.
And so once again, you share the fruit of this personal experience, and I don't know, I just need a laugh just to get the existential tension out of myself.
Right, right. Well, and what the listeners of the program cannot see is my desert camo New Testament clutched firmly to my chest, which only you can see.
Yeah, I that's very, very poignant.
It's kind of a guard your heart thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
or the last grip of sanity.
Yeah. I don't have a pocket New Testament to hold over my heart. Maybe I'll just grab the Theology of Peanuts, the commentary on Charles Schulz's cartoons, and hold that to my heart.
There you go.
And you can tell me I'm a good man, Charlie Brown. In doing the work for your portfolio, I asked you if your portfolio, which won the National Merit Scholarship, I asked you if you'd given it a name, and you said you hadn't because you hadn't found a title that really encompassed your work. What is it sometimes about when you do a piece of work that you just struggle so much to find something that really can give it a name, give it a label?
My primary primary and fundamental problem has really been from the beginning. I think I've only ever written one poem, story, creative nonfiction. Out of everything I've written, I've only written one where I knew the title before I started. I have, and titling my work is truly my writer's nemesis, in a very literal sense of the word and definition. I really, honestly, have been writing all of these years, and I still am as challenged now as I was when I was a kid to title things. It's just it's the weakest point or part of my writing.
Well, Topher, I wish that was the weakest part of my writing. uh, One of the things, just listening to the poem Humpty Dumpty, and that it references something that on the surface would seem so trite. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And then you use a phrase, all the president's men, and then in my mind immediately coming up, that bastard Nixon, a Quaker who somehow explodes the war in Vietnam. And yet, all the president's men not able to put the shattered egg, back together again. I don't know, I think about just that phrase, all the president's men, all the president's women. Where does that come from? Is that just a familiar phrase, or I'm just wanted to ask you about that because that was the one thing about the poem that always stands out to me.
It was indeed a deliberate flip back to the movie starring Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. In that, I guess, kind of a flip and an homage all at once. In that, when you look at the VA system now, and probably then, there are a great many veterans who would tell you that they would not take your dog, your rabid dog that bit their little daughter, to the VA. And at the VA, those people work for the VA, which is under direct purview of the United States government. So they are part of the institution of all of the president's women and all of the president's men. And while they might put you back together again, or you might end up with a prosthesis, the one prosthesis that medicine has not been able to find, to make out of polyfibers or all of this clean and sanitary, though unfortunate, necessity, no one has been able to invent or begin installing a new brain or a new heart and spirit. Those things, purely of God, we're born with them, and what we do with and to them throughout our lives shapes them. But no amount of technology can repair.
It was one of the World War I poets. It's featured in, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The line was featured in the film Scent of a Woman, but there is no prosthetic for the amputated spirit. Thinking about that, as you clutch the New Testament in your hand, is that what restores your sanity in the day-to-day working of the art, having to guard your heart, and yet needing to express this experience? Is that your compass through the, I dare say, use another metaphor, bridge over troubled aesthetic waters?
Very, very much so. I think you really, really hit the figurative head of the soul nail on the head there with the daily restoration, and clutching my New Testament. Even people who are not particularly religious but grew up that way, and I would say a lot of people that maybe didn't grow up a lot around the Bible, still know The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He restoreth my soul. So yes, my clutched New Testament is restoration and a life-saving device thrown into the water, in which sometimes I find myself, many times, I find myself drowning and languishing. It is my, well, not so much necessarily the Bible, but the originator of the Bible, God, is where I find that restoration and the ability to plug through and keep on keeping on.
I've always thought it's important, when you say that, because you do have this dark experience, and I've always think it's necessary to have Paul. It's necessary to have a person who can testify to the darkness of the human experience, not censor anything, not leaving anything out of what he's seen, of what he's been, and yet says, but this darkness, the fact that there is still a remedy, the fact that there is still, even with Humpty Dumpty shattered, there can still be some kind of resurrection of the human spirit. All the more important, I think, not to censor out any of the dark stuff, just to show that wait a minute, there is something, that there is still light and beauty, and that's largely what the show's about. So I really appreciate even the shadow, smoky fog of your work, because I think it only more greatly underscores the fact that there's just still so much beauty that life has to offer, and that, as it says in the New Testament, the light shines out in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth not.
Right. Hey, and I like to, I would like the audience to understand that while I do write about a lot of personal experience, but I do also write about a lot of experience. So very rarely, if ever, will you hear me attach or insert myself into my work. These are things that happen every day to men and women.
And what is it about that everyday aspect of it that continues to drive your art?
Pain, restoration, revival, renewal.
Something to think about, I think, over a break. This is Micah Joel. I'm with Topher Tackman, and we are the Poets Corner. We'll be right back.